Here we are then into the final chapter of what has been quite an absorbing test match tussle. India have won the series, but there is still a lot in the line in the fifth test in Dharamsala. It's going to be a milestone test for a couple of players on either side, and with the WTC around, points are always important. Welcome to ESPNcricinfo Match Day. Sanjay Manjrekar joins us ahead of the Dharamsala test. Sanjay, it's one of the things that changes in the cricketing outlook with the advent of the WTC cycle, where you can no longer look at a game as a dead rubber, especially for India, considering that they end the cycle with a tough away series in Australia. They will want to bank those points up.
Yes, so I think it has some relevance. Test cricket is to be played just randomly over the years, so it's a nice concept that we have some kind of culmination at the end of a pretty long season for various teams. But I must say that forget about the World Test Championship, points and to be in contention. That we have England in the way they've played in the series so far. I'm sure a lot of people will be still looking towards the last test match. The series has been decided, but I guess England have made test cricket very exciting, and that's what we've had in the series. And I'm sure people will lap up the final test match as well, and not just for what's at stake with the WTC.
Yeah, and for England in particular, a chance to actually end the series with a scoreline more fitting with how close the games have been. Because a 4-1, when people look back at it, will always be looked at as, oh, okay, India ran them over. But this could be a 4-1 if they were to lose. Very similar to India's 4-1 defeat in England back in 2018, where the team genuinely didn't believe that 4-1 justified their performances.
Exactly, and it's nice of you to bring that as comparison. Clearly, what you've seen with England in the last four Test matches is that we've seen evidence of the fact that no other visiting team has got under the skin of India as much as England have done in a home series. So. And that's what they've done. But unfortunately, we don't measure or the results are not decided by how much you have put the opposition under pressure. You've got to clinch the winning moments. And that is where England have failed. And it's not because of lack of effort. It's just that the core ability is now, as the series goes on, is coming through. So, yes, if they lose 4-1, if they lose Dharamshala test easily, then you might say, yeah, in the end, India prevailed. But at this stage, 3-1 looks like it's been a one-sided series, but it hasn't been, and we all know that.
The good thing for England is this last test will be perhaps the closest to home conditions that they can expect in India, at least weather-wise. It's quite grey in Dharamsala. There's even chance of snow, which has never happened in a known Test cricket game, if my memory serves me right. But those conditions become an important factor in a Test match of in Dharamsala. Given everything we expect with the weather, we don't know what the surface is like. Would there be merit for India in playing three seamers, perhaps?
Well, I think I'm doing the pitch report at Dharamshala, so I'll have to actually find a way to do a pitch report with snow around as to what kind of an effect that has on the pitch and the conditions. So that is going to be something new for me. But on a serious note, yes, when you think about Dharamshala, and it's actually, I'm in Delhi right now, and it's pretty cold here as well. Mumbai as well is feeling, the coolness from the north. So yes, there is a likelihood that it might be cold 4 days in Dharamshala, but those are overhead conditions. The pitch, if it's a dry, rough, abrasive pitch, then again, nothing much changes. The seamers will have a part to play. They've had as well in the series. Early part of the series, we saw the seamers, even Akash Deep in the last test match. So I see if the pitch is rough, typical sort of Indian test pitch at home, then I don't see much changing. India will and should go in with two seamers and three spinners.
So, okay, then, if it is two seamers, Jasprit Bumrah is back in the mix after having been rested in Ranchi. In his place came Akash Deep, who had that glorious burst on the opening day. How do you balance the seamers? Does Bumrah walk in for Akash Deep, or are you considering giving Siraj a rest?
The rotation policy is about rotating players. So Bumrah has had his rest, but now Siraj must have his rest. And I think the only reason for that is Akashdeep, the kind of start that he had in that last test. It would be a travesty if he's left out. You know, when you look at just on pure merit and experience and long-term success, Mohammad Siraj is obviously the second seamer there. But you know, Akashdeep, you want to play him the second test after the kind of start that he's had. Uh, Plus, because we are resting players, I think it's a good time to rest Mohammad Siraj and certainly not drop on performances. So yeah, that is the way I'll go. And I have a feeling, just looking at how the team management have handled their resources over the last couple of years, I see that happening.
All right. Regardless of the bowling combination, it will be a test match to savor for the leader of the pack, Ravichandran Ashwin, who just earlier in this series got to 500 tests, now completes another landmark. He will play his 100th test, becoming the 14th Indian to reach that mark. You've spoken a bit through this series about how one of Ashwin's shining qualities is how he reinvents himself. We saw a bit of that from the first test to the second as well. Now, as you look back on Ashwin's career as he approaches 100 tests, what to you makes him the standard of cricketer that he's turned into?
My father, who played for India with great pride, on his car, he had a sticker on the rear window that said, "Cricket creates character." And people who have long careers have the strength of character. It's impossible to play 100 test matches unless you're a tough cookie. And that is something that anyone who's played some amount of test cricket will always take their hat off to, because it's a tremendous achievement. So that's that with Ashwin. And the other thing, the fierce competitor that he is. I mean, we see that with bowling, when he gets a couple, he wants five more. He wants more and more. He's got a huge appetite for wickets. So that's, again, the drive that he has. But when he's batting down the order, and how he defies every time he comes in to bat, despite his huge bowling success, this just tells you the kind of player that he is. During the COVID time, I remember him talking to a lot of people on social media, to curators, first-class players. So he's a very different kind of player. He's somebody who plays for the Indian cricket team, but knows far beyond what's outside his own sport. And that is what I love about him. So he's somebody who's always made cricket interesting to watch because of the things that he's done over the years. And finally, a real artist with a kind of artistry that he does with his fingers.
If we were to ask you to pick one standout performance, there's a lot, 35 first. That's a fair number. But what are the performances or memories that immediately jump out for you?
Two things. The first time I set my eyes on Ashwin when he was playing for CSK as an off spinner, a finger spinner who kept things simple. But I remember CSK would give him the tough overs to bowl, and he did that, without a problem. So that was an image, sort of, not a red flag, but a green flag, saying that this guy is pretty special. I'm terrible at remembering, all the spells, and there have been some brilliant ones where he's just turned a match on its head. I mean, player of the series in so many matches. But one of his finest performance, because it's happened recently, was in Vizag, when he got those 3 wickets at a crucial time on a pitch that had nothing for him. Showed that he's not somebody who's only reliant on the surface. There's some artistry in the air as well, and that is something that we saw there. So yes, many spells to remember, and most of it being, match winning and series winning spells. So that is what sets him apart.
Yeah, India will hope there's still a few more fifers and a few more match-winning performances in the tank. But just looking at the batting for India, Sanjay, I guess the only place of question is with regards to Rajat Patidar, who's had a tough time. A very promising first innings in Test cricket, where he made 32, and he got a lot of applause from you for that. But he struggled a bit. Would you persist with him in this last test, give him one more chance, or would you consider giving Devdutt Padikkal a chance, who's been on the bench?
Again, to read the team management's mind first, I think they'll give Patidar one more game. You can't win an argument with destiny. If you try to talk to somebody who believes in destiny, you can't win that argument. It's somewhere you tend to feel that, he's got this one more opportunity with certain player not getting fit. And he came with a lot of promise on the back of some, heavy performances. So I see the team management giving him one more opportunity, particularly may have to wait his turn, and I support that as well. And where things are panned out, the uncontrollable, you just wonder whether, Patidar will have a great game in Dharamshala, because something that happens, with people, but suddenly all the uncontrollables start working in your favor. Happened to K. Rahul just before the World Cup. So let's hope that happens to Patidar as well.
Right, so Rajat Patidar to continue to get a chance and Jasprit Bumrah to come back into the 11 in place of Mohammad Siraj. That is Sanjay Manjrekar's lineup. You tell us what you think India should line up with in Dharamsala. Sanjay, I hope you have a good time in Dharamsala, and I really hope you're carrying slightly heavier jackets than the ones we tend to wear here in Mumbai.
Yeah, left Mumbai in a linen shirt, but when I arrive in Dharamshala, I'll have the right gear. I'm a true professional.
But that should be some sight, seeing you in a beanie on the broadcast. So we look forward to that and look forward to your company through the test match. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.